Hi everyone! Welcome back. My name is Vivian, and if you're new here, thank you so much for joining me. I am all about personal growth, coming back after a challenge or a setback, and really defining a life that feels true to who you are. In my personal opinion, confidence is not something that you're born with. Confidence is something that is built, cultivated with time and nurturing. And for today's topic, I would love to discuss 5 practical ways that you can come back up and rebuild your confidence after a loss. I think we can all agree that loss comes in many forms. Breakups, whether they're relational or friendships, loss of a job that you've had for a pretty long time, or for a split second, or before you even step foot into the office. That happens. Personal failures and shame around that, and in some cases, loss of identity. However, rebuilding confidence is possible. And in this video, I talk about 5 practical ways that you can start doing that today. Starting with the first one, I would love to emphasize redefine your self-worth. Definition: what is self-worth? Self-worth is the deep belief that you are inherently valuable and deserving of love, respect, and fulfillment simply because you exist. It is not based on external achievements, appearance, and what people say about you. It is something that's deep and ingrained in who you are, and it's built based off of the belief system that you are deserving irregardless of ... One practical way that you can really start to cultivate self-worth is through personal affirmations. You are constantly and repeatedly telling yourself positive words of affirmation. You are instilling a belief, and the ultimate goal is to create a new belief system. For example, if you say, "I am worthy of love," to yourself, as you repeat those actions to yourself, you are cultivating a new belief. You are worthy of learning and growing. You are worthy of seeing the world. That is, simply put, the practical exercise. I encourage you to write down a list of the things and qualities that you admire about yourself. For example, I admire that I am able to speak with any and everybody. I can walk into a room and it's very natural for me to engage in conversation. It's a strength. That's something of value, and I admire that about myself. Write down those qualities that are admirable to you. Tip number 2 is rebuilding your inner dialogue. After a loss, it's very easy to have doubt in yourself and start to question your own reality. Sometimes negative self-talk creeps in and you start to question everything. An example of that is, "That person left me. I must be a bad person." What you want to do is introduce a simple thought, a positive thought, to replace that circumstance or that situation that you feel like you're in. For example, people come and go, seasons change. As long as I'm true to myself, the right people will stay. Everybody has their own reasons for moving on and for hardening themselves, deciding to cut ties. Might be a time that you have that decision to make as well. But it's so important that you don't lose sight of who you are, irregardless. And I want to be here to tell you that the moment you start speaking negatively about yourself and you start to doubt who you are innately and your character, you've already lost the battle, and it's you versus you. As something practical to do to exercise this, I recommend journaling and asking your question, what self-limiting belief am I still holding on to that I need to release? Tip number 3, reclaim your identity through self-discovery. Experiencing a loss, it's very easy to question who you are and lose sight of those core values and things that you have going for yourself, or the things that just simply brought you joy. What are those things? Encourage rediscovery through hobby building, passions, and self-exploration. For me, how I am going through self-discovery is getting back to the basics for myself and mastering things that maybe I already know. For example, I am taking an etiquette class, so I'm learning the art of fine dining, and understanding what goes into how you hold your fork, how you engage in conversation, how you engage with the waiter or the waitress. It happens in difficult situations when you're out at dinner with somebody. So many different ways of going into. Another way I'm doing this is I took a poise class. So I took a class where I learned how to pose, how to be elegant in my pictures, how to present myself as I'm speaking on stage, for example, when I'm customer facing and going to my customer, how I can be properly holding business acumen, can be properly dressed and engaging with my customers. All of these things I do today, but I want to master them. I require a level of excellence out of myself where it's not perfectionism, but it's striving for my best in my own way. So I would encourage you also to do your own exercises of self-discovery. There are so many ways of doing this. As a recommendation and pro tip, I would say start with something that maybe you used to do or you used to be passionate about in your childhood, and look into ways that you can do that in your adult life. Another action I took about a year ago is I engaged in swimming classes, and after 4 months I learned how to swim, and I challenged myself by jumping out of the boat for the first time without a life jacket in Aruba, and that's when I realized, oh my gosh, I just created a small win for myself. So those are just a few ways to cultivate your journey on self-discovery. Tip number 4, develop your confidence through the small wins. Confidence, as I mentioned, is something that you can build. And one thing you can do in your building confidence in yourself is keeping promises to yourself. When you are able to keep promises to yourself, when you're able to do what you said you were going to do, you are slowly but surely mastering your confidence and proving to yourself, if I can do what I said I would do it myself, that means that I can do what I said I'm going to do with other people. I mean, even the word confidence has the word confide in it. One practical way that you can start to really nurture this is micro habits. When you build micro habits or atomic habits, like in the book by James Clear, what that means is setting very small, simple goals throughout the day, and then those simple goals turn into long-term strengths, and those long-term strengths turn into purposeful living. One example of that is I'm going to wake up 8 a.m. every morning and I'm going to walk outside for 5 minutes. Or I'm going to cultivate a proper skincare routine for myself before my bedtime. Or I'm going to call my mother at a certain time every day to really instill more intentionality in what I'm doing with my relationship with my mom. Those are just some small habits that you can get into to start to cultivate a way of life, essentially. These small habits, that the basis of it is if you can do the small things, you can then be trusted to do the big things. And when you're doing the big things, it's all kind of in motion because you've already built routines and mantras and habits for yourself. Match that reality. Tip number 5, curate your support system. Everybody is talking about building their tribe, building their community. It's not something that's just a buzz phrase or a buzzword. It is valuable. It is true. I cannot tell you how incredibly important it is to have the right support system and tribe, especially when you're going through a loss. You can't imagine the heartbreak I had when I went through a difficult situation some years ago with the loss of friendships that I thought were to last me a lifetime. And I cried. I was in a rut for years. It really was off the strength of my family, my support system, my close friends really picked me back up. Outside of God and outside of praying, I realized that my community is what kept me afloat. And so I encourage you to also cultivate a strong and tailored community for you. Now, you might already have this, but a practical tip is to nourish friendships that you know are meaningful. Don't take for granted the people that are there for you and that you are there for as well. Don't take for granted the people that you feel 100% yourself with and that you're confident in those friendships. Don't take for granted your sister or your brother that you can confide in and that you can have real conversations with. It's simply just so important, and I have nothing else to say other than really instilling that courage to be honest with yourself, but honest with them too. So yeah, those are the 5 tips that I wanted to share about how to build your confidence back after a loss. And just to reiterate, the first tip was redefining your self-worth. self-worth, understanding what that means, right? The deep belief that you are deserving and capable of love, respect, and fulfillment. Self-worth, really defining what that is for you. Tip 2 is rebuilding your inner dialogue, things that you are constantly telling yourself, removing and releasing all negative talk from your dialogue, from your affirmations to yourself. Just like there are positive affirmations, there are negative affirmations. Using the negative and focusing on the good, focusing on your strengths, and using your weaknesses as an experience of growth area. Tip number 3, reclaiming your identity through self-discovery. Learning a new hobby, learning a new craft, getting back to what you love. All of those things can relate to self-discovery. Figure out what self-discovery means for you. Tip number 4, develop self-trust through the small wins. You make these small habits and you follow through, you are slowly but surely instilling and growing your confidence. And so the more you do that, the more you are closer to actually having a full-fledged confidence. Thing can disturb you when you think about life's circumstances and situations, because you've already committed this confidence and this level of assurance in yourself that makes you pretty much unbreakable. And lastly, tip number 5, curating and encouraging a solid support system. Community is so important. You do not want to be going through something alone. You're never alone. God is always with you. Family is always with you. Your friends are always with you. Don't be discouraged. Don't start to let doubt creep in. Don't become fearful and scared of, oh, I can't let nobody in. Everybody's gonna feel me. No, you have to remember who you have around you. Who are the ones that are gonna pick you up when you are on the floor, when you are at your lowest of lows, when you feel like this is literally the end of the world. Who are those group of girls or friends or men? Who are those group of people that are gonna pick you back up when all the pieces are on the floor? So that's it, guys. I just wanted to encourage you a little bit, and I hope this video was helpful. Please drop a comment and let me know what types of videos that you'd like to hear more about from me. Personal development, self-discovery, growth in general, self-care, travel, life, you name it. Just let me know, and please don't forget to subscribe. I'm so happy you're here, and I'm so grateful you're here. Thank you so much, and see you next time.